everyone, and welcome to the very first episode and gathering of Shred Talks. This is a first here at Shaper Studios in San Diego, California. We're really stoked to have Daniel Thomson, aka Tomo, here with us tonight. And Daniel, I really want to start with a quote from Kelly Slater, because you can't have a conversation about surfing without Kelly Slater, okay? Quote, Kelly Slater, "I love it. I really like the direction Stu Kennedy is going with those Tomo designs. I think that's kind of the future, to be honest." How does that feel when the greatest surfer ever doesn't just know who you are, but also is familiar with your work and praises it like that?
That blew my mind. Like, I didn't even know he was aware of anything I did pretty much at that time. So, I mean, to get feedback like that from anyone's great, but from someone like Kelly was insane. So,
what skill do you have that makes you so comfortable, like really starting brand new and coming up with something entirely new?
The willingness to experiment is the first step that I took, you know. Like, I was the straight stock standard shortboard guy forever, you know. I was a competitor. I was shaping my own boards, all my own shortboards, and at a certain point I just was really burnt out with that whole movement, you know. I was surfing felt the same day in, day out, no matter how I changed the board, just by a little bit of rocker or something, they all kind of felt the same. I knew there was something more that shortboards and performance surfing could be. So at that point in time, I just started messing around with fishes and list fishes and pavels, and it just gave me some inspiration to think outside the box. And I started from small increments of experimentation and then just extrapolated from there. I just brought it out and just kept experimenting, kept bringing that process out from that small start.
Some of us know a little bit about your dad and the fact that he's shaped and designed surfboards as well as surf mats. He's even been involved, at least experimenting with magnetic field levitation systems for surfboards. Yeah. All right, now, seriously. Now, if you want, you can tell us a little bit more about that. What does that do for you? Like, does that make it way easier to come out with something brand new and just think?
Well, yeah, for a start, my dad's like worked with George Greeno for 15 years. I mean, he was great best friends with him, and so he got a lot of like, I mean, I've had that left field influence from the beginning with like scientific kind of stuff, and again, like you're saying, like his level of thinking is just crazy. So, but I kind of like had to get out of his shadow, you know. I took my own path with a fish. I kind of started that, and he was doing more different stuff, and I kind of growing out of the father's shadow kind of thing as well. So I had that period in my life where I had to establish myself as my own designer, you know. So
a lot of us look at you today like Tomo, Firewire, boards everywhere. What was that moment where you decided, like, I'm gonna go to America?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a little bit of success in the States, traveling here in like early 2004, 2005, shaping the high performance fishes. I was doing some cane gardens and some stuff that were getting a little bit of momentum. And but California was always open to experimentation. You know, the fish came out of here, and then I was kind of getting a bit of traction with that design. So it was a natural progression, but again, to your point, it was a gnarly move. I had to, you know, back myself 100% and just believe in my vision for surfing. And, you know, obviously it paid off and down the track, so I was, you know, I'm stoked that it did.
So
I'm sitting here right now.
Kind of tell us what it was like. You're driving around in your purple van with masking tape windows. You're in America. You're trying to make it happen. You're involved with Hydrodynamica. What was that moment where you're with Mark from Firewire? What was that moment like when you found out, like, it's on, we're going to do Firewire, when you had faith in their design and manufacturing process, when they had faith in your shapes? Like, what did that moment feel like?
Well, it started just with an email back and forward, and he approached me, you know, was interested in the board. After I did a couple for Curran, the Vanguard, it was the first time I kind of tweaked that design and got it under some high-level guys' feet. And Tom rode it in the Rincon Classic and did quite well in it. I think he beat Dan Reynolds in a heat or something, I don't know. But that was a big moment, like, as far as like it caught Mark Price's attention. He contacted me and said, "Hey, can you build us one?" And we just kind of courted each other a little bit, and then built him a board. He loved it, and then he just put an offer on the table. It was like incredible, like, we want to build your boards and take your brand to the next level. And after that I was just like, it's on, let's do this.
That's amazing.
It's like pretty huge. I couldn't really believe it, you know.
I really would like to talk about kind of your process for designing boards. Here at Shaper Studios, there's a lot of people just putting their hands on foam for the first time and shaping boards with their hands. Do you remember what that was like for you when you first started out? Like, do you remember the first board that you ever shaped?
Yes, like I was kind of like involved with the shaping process from very early because my dad was a mad shaper, you know. So every board he'd shape me, he'd make me do a rail, and he'd do a rail, you know. And it was around the time when Tom Curran again was staying back in Australia. I don't know if you guys saw 5.5, 19 quarter lost.
And he was on.
And he was like, they're doing that design thing in the back end of the movie. That was at my house, and he stayed and for a week and was shaping, and that was like a massive influence on me. I saw him shaping, and after that I was just like, I'm in, like I want to shape, you know, I want to build my own board. So, and he gave me this board, which this was this little fish. It was that Tommy Peterson fish that he rode in that big Indo right in Beyond the Boundaries, that Rip Curl movie, that classic board, and he just gave it to me. That kind of set me on a little bit more of an alternative path. Having a little bit of a skill set, not very great, but enough to like tackle it on your own. I just started shaping boards, and you know. You're
really unique in that you surf really well. In the world of shapers, a lot of shapers, for example, rely totally on their team for their feedback, right? I'm curious with you, how does it work with team riders versus your own experiences?
Basically, I'll develop the board to what I think it's the peak of that design, and then I'll get other feedback from there. And then if I get some credible feedback, I'll start maybe tweaking it from there. But most of it is just riding the boards and just myself, and it's just been like a personal like development of trying to improve my surfing, because I love surfing, and that's been my number one passion. Shaping was just a method for me to have an advantage over other guys to improve with my equipment.
You had these modern planing hole theories. What did it feel like the first time you realized like there's really something here? When was that? What board was it that gave you that feeling? What was that moment? Where were you?
June 2009. It was a very like definite moment. Like I was riding, I was building really racy fishes, like taking the list fish, taking a shortboard and a list fish and combining it together with a shortboard rocker, really narrow, but that outline, and then keel fins. And they were working insane, but it was a stepping stone to the planing holes. And there was just a penny drop moment where I just was like, these things can be so much shorter and I can lose a nose. And I just shaped one. That board just like instantly, I just was like, that board's a kite board, you know? It has that aesthetic. And then that made the connection. I started like looking back at how like kiteboard looks, and I'm like, that's the style of outline they need to be like. And then from there, I was just shaped a Vader straight off. Like day after day, I shaped another board. Like found money to buy a blank, and just was like, and just you know acted on that inspirational moment, and just shaped all these ideas in my head, and that was it. I just knew, and just direct all my energy into these. That's how I'm going to make a name for myself with this board.
What's your advice to people who either can start from a brand new creative place or can go and just learn from a board they already see somewhere?
Best advice is just you got to have passion for what you do. If you love shaping, and then try and create your own style, you know, that you're like, I'm not going to do that because it's too far outside what I know that works, you know. And it's like overcoming that, and just like it's just about not paying attention to everybody else and just doing what you feel that's right for you.
You came up surfing these right-hand points in Australia. Have the waves here affected the way you design boards? And if so, how have they affected it?
It did have a huge impact, and in fact it was like the timing of those boards were perfect because they worked really, really well in smaller waves because of that wider planing surface throughout the board. So it made me consider like expanding the boards more so than just one high rocketed like shred machine for pumping waves, you know, because there's a variety of conditions in California. It can be 1 foot and flat faced, or it can be solid reef waves. There's all sorts of stuff here. So the diversity of waves is almost better than Australia because we don't have, you know, everything's a point break, or, you know, you usually don't even go surfing unless it's like head high over there. It's kind of...
From the outside looking in, it seems like you're one of the few guys who unfailingly starts from that speed and ease of use place first. Is that how you start out, and how do you approach that balance?
For me, a perfect board is a board that's easy to use. It should be really intuitive. It should just react to whatever you want to do on a wave. So that for me is high performance. A normal shortboard, you need to be such an athlete to ride what you know the pros are riding. It's, you know, that's all about that crazy tail huck, nose pick, whatever, you know. And you watch every video of the shortboard guys, it's all one turn moves, air reverse. It's all for that peak air reverse moment where they can pivot out of the lip. You can watch some of my videos with Stu and everything's flowing. Turn like 5 turns linking together, you know, because the board will carry through that whole movement, but it'll still give you that peak moment control and radical surfing. So that's where I took the flow, the list fish, and I spliced it with the DNA of a shortboard, and it just so happens it looks like it looks, you know. But it's all about that feeling that I was chasing, you know.
You have the Evo coming out. What do you personally feel on an Evo that gets you excited about it? What are you excited for other people to feel when they get on it?
The most exciting thing about the Evo is the bottom contour. I feel like that's another big breakthrough. Just a quad concave running right through the board just gives the board such an incredible lift, and it's all floaty. It feels like it's almost hovering. When you get more and more speed, it just feels like it's just like starting to break through and start to just go on a boundary layer where it's just kind of like teetering on the water, you know. But then when you get on rail, it creates this narrow, like almost like a water ski on each rail, you know, whereas where the middle part of the board is detached and you're just riding on these 2 little planing surfaces. So as soon as it gets on rail, it's like instantaneous response. So it just is like boom into the lip, you know. I think you'll see a lot of my boards are going to have those like everything's going to have that bottom in it from now on in, or something similar. I think that's the next pursuit, is bottom contours.
You're open about your interest in physics, hydrodynamics, math. I mean, you study these things in your personal time. Do you recommend to aspiring shapers to study that stuff? And does that help everyone shaping? Or do you view that as just something unique to your personality and it's just one path to get there?
I'm not sure. I think I mean, it would help everyone, of course, like especially the fluid dynamics side of things. There's a book called The Architecture of Planing Hulls by Lindsay Lord. You can download it. There's all these like tangible stuff that you can research, and you can wrap your head around it. Once you do, you can take it upon yourself to create ideas based on that literature, you know. So that's a good one. I recommend everyone read it.
Would you rather be a pro surfer right now? Or
no, not at all. It's so cutthroat, and there's so many gnarly guys, and those contests are just like, there's nothing in it between complete and utter like glory and complete and utter failure. And so to be where I am now, and I can kind of just design boards for Firewire, travel a bunch, and have not much pressure other than to just keep my progression going, you know. I think I'm one of the luckiest guys in the industry.
You totally seem like it, because you have a job and a career and you can travel, and seems amazing. Cool, everyone, that's all that we have time for. Daniel, on behalf of everyone here at Shaper Studios and everyone watching wherever you guys are in the world, thanks so much for being so generous with your time.
Thanks, Is
that a wrap?